I was in my science lab on Tuesday morning, working on yet another experiment regarding the creation of bioluminescent fish when Mercury, the messenger of the gods, appeared before me. Mercury handed me a parchment scroll. When I read the scroll, I saw that Jupiter had summoned me to Mount Olympus. As part of my promise to Jupiter, I had to answer his summons. I raised my hands over my head and shouted, "Elizabetha!" With a crash of distant thunder, I became a goddess and disappeared from my lab to reappear in Mount Olympus. As I hurried down the halls of Jupiter's palace, I wondered why the king of the gods had summoned me. Were the Titans, the ancient enemy of the gods, making a play to overthrow Mount Olympus? Had another group of ancient gods like those of Egypt or China risen to challenge Jupiter's authority?
我很生气。
Or were we on the eve of a massive planetary invasion by a fleet of hostile alien spacecraft who were bent on conquering our planet?
Ah, Elizabetha,
Exclaimed Jupiter when I approached his throne. The king of the gods was drinking a strawberry Slurpee, sucking it noisily through a straw.
I'd see that you got my summons. I have an urgent mission for you, one that requires your special talents.
What can I do for you? I asked, eager to find out what disaster had summoned me to Mount Olympus.
I need a new Slurpee.
Announced Jupiter.
I think that this one should be a blackberry-infused limeade.
I stared at Jupiter. What? You interrupted my lab work with a request for a Slurpee? The king of the gods wagged a finger at me.
When your flying ship was in danger of crashing into a pyramid, I saved you. You or me, Elizabetha. I saved your life. I gave you your powers and your freedom to live outside Olympus provided you answered my summons. I am simply asking that you honor your promise.
I gritted my teeth and vanished, to reappear at a Sonic's. Since I didn't have a car, I went to the window and ordered a blackberry-infused limeade. I then had to return to my dormitory room at the Stratham School for Gifted Children to get the 4.87 that was needed to purchase a large beverage.
Marmalade, do you know where my purse is?
With beverage in hand, I returned to Mount Olympus, where Jupiter gratefully accepted my offering. On Wednesday morning, Mercury again interrupted me in my lab with another summons to Mount Olympus. It seems that Jupiter was hungry. Since he had a god-sized appetite, he sent me to Brisbane to purchase the Smoky Moo's Mighty Moo platter. Designed to feed 8 people, this order included pastrami, brisket, ribs, beef cheeks, garlic bread, fries, Cobb salad, and coleslaw.
That's a lot of food. It's no wonder that Jupiter is overweight.
On Thursday, Jupiter wanted fresh flowers picked from the base of the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. On Friday, he asked for a cup of coffee that had been brewed by world-famous barista Agnieszka Rojeska.
Zaparzyłem kawę dla Boga.
Why do you keep sending me on these ridiculous missions? I finally demanded. Jupiter pretended to be surprised.
Ridiculous?
He repeated.
Do you think that the needs of the king of the gods are ridiculous?
No!
Is it ridiculous for a father to want to see his newest goddess living happily in her own palace in Mount Olympus?
I fumed. I don't want to live in Mount Olympus, I told Jupiter. I want to continue living at the Stratham School for Gifted Children. Jupiter wagged his finger at me.
Such choices have costs.
He observed.
If you want to continue living away from home, you may do so as long as you pay the price. I saved your ship. You or me, Elizabetha.
Seth noticed how angry I was when I returned to my lab. After telling him what Jupiter was making me do in his effort to get me to move to Mount Olympus, my lab partner gave me some startling news.
Did you know that Jupiter tricked you into becoming the goddess, Elizabetha?
Asked Seth. What? I exclaimed. I stared at Seth with wide eyes while Melvin nodded in agreement with what he had said.
Jupiter sabotaged the engines. I have security footage.
Jupiter caused the damage to the hybrid engine that almost resulted in our crashing the dirigible pirate ship into the side of an Egyptian pyramid.
Explained Seth.
Behold the power of Jupiter. Feel my wrath.
I was so mad that I decided to take Jupiter to court. Since Jupiter was a god, I didn't want to just take him to any court. For one thing, I was afraid that if I tried to sue the king of the Roman gods in court, the judge and bailiffs would laugh at me. After all, who in this day and age would even believe that the old gods even existed? After researching the history of law in our country, I came across the name of a no-nonsense judge. Judge Roy Bean was a justice of the peace in Pecos County, Texas, in 1882. Unlike other judges, he did not have a courtroom.
I don't need no courtroom. I've got my saloon.
Trials were held in his saloon, the Jersey Lily. His jury consisted of saloon customers who were mostly rough and tumble West Texas cowboys. To see if Judge Roy Bean would hear my case, I went back in time as Elizabetha to 1882. I found the judge in his saloon.
Well, hello, little lady.
Said the judge.
You are the prettiest in this side of the Pecos. What can I do for you?
The judge listened to my story and then laughed.
Little lady, I reckon that you've been in the sun for too long. I've heard some whoppers in my day, but your story sure does take the cake.
Since the judge didn't believe me, I took him to New York City where we stood in Times Square. His mouth dropped as he looked around him at the sidewalks full of bustling people and the crowded traffic in the streets.
What in tarnation?
Well, if that don't take all.
I then took him to the Via Sacra in ancient Rome, where he stared as Romans dressed in togas walked from Capitoline Hill towards a distant Colosseum.
I always did want to visit Rome.
After a brief stop in Rome, I took him 262 million years into the past, to the distant Mesozoic era, when dinosaurs ruled the earth.
Woohee, those are big critters.
I then returned us to Judge Roy Bean's saloon, the Jersey Lily. For a moment, the judge's mouth opened and shut like a fish out of water. After pouring himself a glass of whiskey, he drank it down in a single gulp.
All right, little lady, I'll hear this case,
he finally said. I smiled when Mercury delivered a scrolled message to Jupiter in Mount Olympus. The message was a court summons for Jupiter to appear before Judge Roy Bean at the Jersey Lily Saloon in Pecos, Texas on October 14th at 1 p.m. in 1882.
Now, what's all this then?
Demanded Jupiter when he appeared before Judge Roy Bean at the start of his trial.
A little lady is saying that you tricked her into becoming the goddess Elizabeth.
Explained the judge.
How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Said Jupiter.
And who are you to ask questions of a god?
I am Judge Roy Bean, the only judge west of the Pecos.
Came the reply.
And you, sir, are in contempt of court. That'll be a $5 fine.
The jury of cowboys at the bar muttered to themselves.
Order in court,
demanded Judge Roy Bean, who was seated at a round table.
If it pleases your honor,
said Melvin,
I have security footage that shows Jupiter destroying the engine room of our flying ship.
Gray blazing saddles. You're a talking tin can,
exclaimed the judge. The jury gasped as Melvin showed them what Jupiter had done. Jupiter hurled a bolt of lightning at the judge.
You are now in contempt of court,
snapped the judge.
And that will be a $20 fine. What do you have to say for yourself, you lying polecat?
Demanded the judge.
I am a god,
snapped Jupiter.
I do not answer to the laws of men.
The jury found Jupiter to be guilty.
You're a lying snake,
growled the judge.
I find you guilty of having tricked this little lady into becoming a goddess. Your demand that she answer your summons is hereby rescinded. That'll be a $100 fine and 10 additional days in jail for contempt of court.
The cheering cowboys led Jupiter away where he was locked up in the Pecos County Jail.
The jury cheered.
And that is how I came to be free of having to answer Jupiter's calls to Mount Olympus.
Jeśli podobał Ci się ten film, polub go i zasubskrybuj.